Good evening and welcome to the FiTT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the FiTT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Dope, this is our 203rd show. We rolling, my brother. That's 4 years of consistently bringing you a lot of information about personal money management, wealth building, generational wealth building, and how to preserve your assets, and also how to protect them. So we try to talk about a little bit of everything on this show. So I just want to start off with our first disclaimer. Just make sure you know we're not fiduciaries, we're not licensed, and we are not giving personal advice. This information is general information, but if you want to get specific information about your specific investment portfolios or your specific financial situation, please seek advice from a qualified individual in investments. Want to also have you to click on the like buttons, because it's very important that you do that. It helps us reach more people, and the heart button, which is so great if you did that too. Also, we get even more traction when you put comments in the comment box. You know, if you have any opinions or things that we're talking about or questions, or if you have some topics you like, future topics you like for us to cover, please feel free to put those in the comment box. With that, how's everything going?
That's good, my brother.
That is good to hear, man. Last week's show was turn your time and talents into income. We hope that was helpful. And then if you want to, if you missed it or if you want to recap, you can go out there on Facebook Live under the FiTT Show and find our archive shows. It only lasts for a month now, 30 days. Facebook now kicks them out. But you can definitely also go out on YouTube and search the FiTT Show, FiTT Show. So dope. Let's start the top of the show like we always do with the stock market. And I'm hearing a little bird told me you got some good news for a change.
Well, it depends on if you invested, it's good news. The S&P and NASDAQ both are sitting at record highs right now, which is that's always good to know. I mean, shoot, NVIDIA is now its market cap is now $4 trillion, which is, it's just even hard to say that. But another real good week in the market. You can see the S&P is up again. It's at an all-time record. It's up 2% for the week. NASDAQ's up another 2%. Stocks are holding. All of them did really well except for one. Microsoft's up another 2. It's about to get over 500. Apple's had a good recovery because their sales in China went up for the first time in a while, and that's kind of a real positive. Plus the list talks about tariffs is helping them. And again, NVIDIA is just rolling. It's hitting all-time highs. It's actually up, 2.6 for the week, but for the year it's up 19%, the same as Microsoft. Google actually did some recovering. It's up to 181. It's doing well. I still think they got a tough road to hoe with a lot of regulatory issues. Pfizer's up a point. They're about to pay their dividend. Again, it's paying like a 7% dividend, so that's a good place to be right now. And the one down for the week is Palantir. But when you look to the far right and you see it's up 76% for the month, I'm sorry, 76% year to date. It's hard to get upset that some people are taking profits, and it's getting a little, I think that's most of it is. People are taking profits, and that's why it's kind of fallen this week. I still think it's a good play. I got in at 70. I thought about selling when it got to 140, but now I'm to the point now where I think I'm just going to let it ride, because I'm not really sure where I would put it if I did sell it. And I'm a little leery about the stock market in general right now, just because the effects of the tariffs haven't hit yet, and the effect of this new budget bill that's been approved, the effect that that's going to have on the deficit, long-term interest rates. And the market got good news this morning with the job market being a little stronger than they thought, which is probably going to preclude the Fed from raising interest rates anytime soon. So again, I'm a little leery about the market right now, but things have been going like crazy. But we'll see how long it lasts. We'll see how long.
Just to give people a little benchmark. And when Obama came in office, I think the NASDAQ was something at like about 6,500, and the
NASDAQ. When are you talking? When are you talking about NASDAQ? What year are you talking about?
About like when Obama came in office the second.
That was 2012. No, 2008.
Oh, the second term.
2012.
Yeah, 2012. Right. It had dropped down pretty low. What you got?
I only go back to 2015. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I got it here. 2012, we were at November 2012. We were at 3,142, 3,000.
It's even lower than what I thought. Right. So,
yeah.
So it gives you an idea.
In 2016, by 2016, it had doubled.
Yeah, that's when it was 6. Like when he.
No, it was actually in November 2016. It was. Let me tell you exactly what it was. It was 5,000, 5,600, almost 6,000.
The NASDAQ.
NASDAQ, correct.
Right, and now it's 20,000. Just want to give people a reference point.
Yeah.
And we started in 2021.
Correct.
And just think how the market has moved up. So, we're not saying we're some great financial advisors or anything like that, but
it was 14.7. 14.7 in 2021.
Right. Okay. And now it's up. So gives you a little idea of things. I just want to give people, an idea, reference point of how things have been moving, man. And the market has been down, up, down. We have ebbs and flows. But over time, if you consistently, stay in the market, it tends to pay off. It tends to have returns. The gold is up to 3,300, over 3,300 an ounce. Silver is up to $37 an ounce for silver, so that's up. I think I got in, like I said, in 2017, and gold was as low as I think it was under 1,300, and now it's 3,300. And silver was at $16 an ounce back then. That's 8 years ago, and now it's up to 37. It kind of moves slower than gold. But just want to give y'all a reference point, and not saying that we pushing these stocks or anything, but just want to give you an idea, real time, doing it. These are the kind of returns that the market's been giving. Then let's go to the cryptocurrency, though. Cryptocurrency is up 3%. The market cap is up $87 billion. And the number one cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, the first coin that came out, is at $109,786 a Bitcoin. That's up 2%. That's up about 2,000 from last week, $2,651. Ethereum is up 70%, 7%. You know, all of the cryptocurrency seems to be following the market because they're all up. Binance, Ripple, Solana, and they're around about the same, 7%. Binance only 3%. It's up by $20 since last week. And these are the top six. You know, we tend to stick with the top 10 here, just to give you an idea, because there's over, I think it's about 9,000 active, but there's about 45,000 cryptocurrencies, but only 9,000 active, you all. So this just gives you an idea about the cryptocurrency. And also the disclosure statement is, remember, if you're investing in cryptocurrency, invest in money that you can, take a loss, or it's not your hard-earned money. If you need to pay your rent or pay your car note, usually it's money that what they call discretionary money. Do not use money that you're going to need in the next 1 year, 2 years, anything like that. Just want to give that disclosure.
But it's becoming more mainstream. A lot of the financial advisors are now recommending that the clients hold up to 10% of their total portfolio in Bitcoin. I'm not near that. I'm still a little edgy. I think I've told you before. I put $4,000 in, and it's up to like 24. That's in cash. And I also bought a Bitcoin ETF that's been going like bonkers. It's up like crazy too. But I'm not comfortable putting 10% of my portfolio into something that's really not tangible, that I can't. I'm a little nervous about doing it, but a lot of advisors are recommending that.
Well, it's interesting because as less as current as a year ago, and back they were saying no more than 2 to 3%.
Right.
They bumped
exactly. Now they're saying 10%, which to me that's a leap of faith that I'm not willing to take.
Yeah. I was kind of shocked that they went there. But like we said, whenever you hear these, like 4% RMD withdrawal rates, and
the 4% RMD rate, that's legit. That's about what RMD rate is. That's not a benchmark number. That's an actual number.
That's an actual number, but still that doesn't mean you have to be at that number.
Well, you do. You have to at least take that much out.
Yeah. But you could take out more.
Yeah, you could, but you have to. Well, required RMD means what's required. The 4% is required.
Yes.
That's required.
No, I'm with you.
You can always take out more, but you have to take out that 4%.
Got you. Right. But once again, that's you're right. That's required. But you can take out more. It doesn't mean you can't take out more. But that's the required amount. That's different. So you make a very good point on that. So, dope. Let's get into our subject today. We're at the mid-year point, and it's important. We like to have like a mid-year review. This is like a mid-year 2025 review, and it's important that you review your plans and where you are, and tell them why. Though, let's discuss why it's important.
Well, and it's one of those disciplines that you have to have in order to build wealth. It's one of those little tedious things that you may not want to do, but you need to do to stay on top of things. It's not as simple as buy a couple stocks and forget it. Once you start making money, having money, trying to preserve money, it's a lot of little steps that you have to take, and this is one of those. And you check on your plan mid-year, you look at see what progresses you made, you see what things you have to change, you see if there's any opportunities to make adjustments or changes that's going to help you easierly, if that's a word, I think I just made that one up, get to where you need to be. So, you look at things like, your budget, your debt, your repayment strategy, whether you're invested in the right things. Those are the kind of things you have to take the time to do, because if you wait until the end of the year or you never look, things can change, things can be out of whack, and you will not have adjusted, and you probably will leave some money on the table. And so that's one of those things that you have to do periodically. In the middle of the year is a real good time to do it, to make sure you can keep things on track.
I mean, because, without regular attention and ongoing maintenance, your financial plans can tend to be forgotten and they can fall apart because there's so many unexpected circumstances that happen these days, and there's unexpected expenses that occur. And it's very important that you review periodically. And once again, like we say, at least 6 months. I review a little bit more than 6 months. I do it almost quarterly. Sometimes I look at my savings and my bank accounts and stuff. I look at them monthly because with all this scamming and stuff, you never know who could be dipping into your funds. So I do it more regularly like that. But at least you should have a mid-year checkup because it's an organizational opportunity to ensure you stay on track by adjusting your savings, your budgeting, and whatever spending as needed. Because like Doe say, you want to do it before too late, and that's why you first and foremost you must have a budget and write it down. First and foremost, but then next you need to review it because when I was doing financial planning, we would do people's financial plan. And then they put it in the drawer and then use it. They paid me this money, and they come back to me, Bob, what happened? I said, well, wait a minute. I mean, it's it just don't work by itself. You got to have action. You got to put it into play. And it's very important you all to have a mid-year checkup.
Yeah, and Bob, I was laughing because I'm kind of anal when it comes to that. This is kind of I don't want to say a hobby, but I enjoy reviewing things, and because I'm always looking to make more. I mean, that's just, it's not that I'm obsessed with money because I'm not, but I'm just obsessed with always making sure I maximize what I have, that I'm earning as much as I can and I'm paying as little as I can. It's almost like a game to me, and it's like a challenge, and I'm a very competitive individual, so I want to make sure that I'm maximizing, what I do. I get over the board, especially with stuff like credit cards. Like I just got a new American Express card, and I think I got like 170,000 Hilton points, and I use that to go see my daughter up in New York because it's crazy expensive. But I got 2 nights in a Hilton, basically for free, and I think it's only like a $95 a year charge with that card. But then the kicker was, if you spend 15 grand within like 4 months, they give you a free night. And so I sat down and said, okay, on my one credit card, I get 3%. And so I'm weighing, do I put it on that credit card or do I put it on the Amex to try to get the 15 grand? And so I ended up focusing on the Amex because a room in New York could cost way over $400. So 3% of 15,000 is what is that? 4,500, $450. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, I should go for the Hilton. But so I enjoy stuff like that. So I review my stuff all the time. But if you think about when you set up your financial goals and you do your budget at the beginning of the year, a lot of people set that budget, then forget about it. But things change. You might change jobs. You probably get a raise unless you took that into account when you did your budget. You might have a birth of a child. Economic things change, which might trigger tax or other financial implications that require you to take a look at it to make sure you are on top of things. So again, you look at how you're doing, you make sure things are pointing in the right directions. Your savings priority may change. You may have an emergency that you have to address. And so when you set your budget, you did that back in, December, January, and now we're sitting here in July, and it can be a totally different picture. If you think back to what the market was doing in January, it was kind of not doing real well, but things are a little different now. So you got to take a look at it and make adjustments as you need to.
Right now, and like you said, you find a joy in it. But I know a lot of people are stressed out from doing budgets because sometimes they're in the hole, and the reason why they go deep in the hole because they don't want to address it. So they deny, and they don't have as much fun in doing, and reviewing. But it's so important, you all, that it's a saying that not everything you face can you change, but you can't change anything unless you face it. When I try to tell a lot of people, man, you got, even if it's tight, and I know human nature, man, it's just some people just, hate budgeting because it restricts them, or they find out that they're deeper in the hole than they really are. But you must you must rethink your budget.
Yeah.
If you look at every 6 months, it's important that you rethink your budget.
I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I thought you were. Then I saw a video online that talked about choosing the difficult, and it was saying, and it used a budget example, and it was saying sitting down and doing a budget and sticking to it is difficult, but it also said being broke is much harder. It's much more difficult. And it talked about choosing your difficult. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. They don't want to take the time to budget, but they're not comparing that to the consequences of not budgeting. And that's one of the things I've always tried to teach my kids is that things have consequences. And you can say, okay, I'm not going to budget, but you got to be happy with what not having budgeted gets you. And it's probably going to get you broke or not get you to maximize where you are. But that's just an interesting way to look at it, is that, yeah, you may not like budgeting, but do you like not having as much money as you can have? So you just have to really sit down and say, hey, this is something I need to do, especially as you begin to build wealth. You have to.
Yeah. So, rethink your budget, because we talk about it a lot, but it's got to be your top priority. In any financial checkup, you must review and rethink your budget. Because if you create a budget, like Dote said, at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, now is a perfect time to reflect on how well that budget is working now. Have you made, progress towards your goals? If not, consider cutting spending or building savings, or help build momentum from the remaining months of the year. Now, this is also a good time to decide if your budget is really working. Now, if you created a detailed budget that you have a difficult time sticking with, consider shifting to a more realistic, flexible spending plan. Remember, there's no right way to manage your money. A strong budget can simply, really simplify your life and how you spend your money now, and it can reduce the stress and take out the worry about the future. So it's so important, you all, to make sure you rethink your budget. Just don't do it and don't look at it.
Yeah, the next thing we always tell you is to check your credit report. And this is something you ought to do every 4 months at least, because you can get 3 credit reports a year, one from each of the credit bureaus. Okay. And so this is one of those things where you have to stay on top of to make sure your credit is actual. One, is real, and 2, that nobody's stealing money from you or opening accounts in your name, And we always tell you should have your credit files locked. It's free, or frozen. I'm sorry, not locked, but frozen. And that's free. And if you aren't applying for credit, there's no reason to have your credit report open. But again, this is another one that you go out to annualcreditreport.com and request the free copy of your credit report. You should get one from each of the credit bureaus every 4 months, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and take a look at your credit report to make sure it's accurate. And the accuracy also make sure you get your credit report as high as you can, because the higher your credit score you get more favorable interest rates on your credit cards. Your car insurance is probably lower, and your borrowing costs are going to be lower, and your limits are going to be higher. Your terms are just going to be better. A lot of companies now are looking at credit reports when they look to hire people. So that's another reason to stay on top of things, to make sure your credit report's accurate, and make sure you're on top of your credit and debt situation. You got to stay on top of that.
The next one is renegotiate your lease. Over the past couple of years, 2 or 3 years, rent prices have generally increased more than 15% nationally. The national medium rental now stands at $2,029 a month. If your lease is up for renewal, it may be time to reevaluate the lease agreement to ensure that you're getting money's worth and paying for only what you need. I know a lot of people who get into some of these nice, real plush apartments, and and they have all these amenities, but they're paying for them, and a lot of them, they don't even be using. And usually landlords want to keep good tenants. So the good news is you may not have to move to find a better deal. You can start by looking at similar nearby rentals to get a sense of the market and determine a price that seems fair and manageable. About 2 to 3 months before your lease expires, approach your landlord to ask, if they will be willing to negotiate, on the rent, offering them something in return, such as, sign a lease longer or paying the last month's rent up front. This may help, and put you in good favor with the landlord. Timing often matters when it comes to negotiating your rent. So it's best to know whether you're in a buyer's market or your landlord plans to sell the property soon. And this also works if you have property, right? You need to review what you're charging people. If you've had somebody in there for many years, you might need to review, what you're charging them, or if you're worried about somebody, leaving, you need to think about what you're charging, the monthly rental that you charge. If you have property, you need to review it too.
Yeah. The next thing is checking your health benefits. And most people think you can only do that during open enrollment period, which usually happens between November and January. But if you've had a qualifying life event, if you've lost your employee sponsored insurance, you moved, you got married, divorced, you had a new baby, military service, there's a bunch of reasons that allow you to update your medical insurance, and you don't have to wait until the open enrollment period. So look at your situation and see if you need to do that. It's another thing you need to take a look at.
Yeah, then this is a big one. Reevaluate your retirement accounts. When was the last time you reviewed your 401k plan or your IRAs? Not only does making the maximum allowable contribution using pre-tax dollars add up significantly over time, if you're not taking advantage of the match, you're leaving money on the table. When you review your retirement accounts, you might look at boosting your pre-tax contributions. Contributions to traditional, but not Roth, employee retirement plans, traditional IRAs, all reduce your current federal tax income dollar for dollar. So when, they're made with pre-tax money, if there's room in your budget to increase your savings, it makes sense within your actual financial situation. Consider increasing the contributions. Review that. Employee-sponsored retirement plans like 401ks, 403b. Now, for 2025, the maximum contribution is now $23,500. You know, and you could do this within this by December 31st at the final date to make these contributions. And if you're 50 and older now, you can do the match, the catch-up contributions, which is additional $7,500. So that's $31,000 now that you can put into a 401k plan, a 403b. And now, because the SSA Act, Social Security Act, individuals whose ages are 60 to 63 years old can even make another catch-up match in their plans about $11,250. And that's catch-up. In the IRAs, for the IRAs of 2025, maximum contribution is $7,000 now. Or $8,000 if you 50, you can do the $1,000 catch up. So these are things you can definitely look at when you review your retirement accounts. It's important to do because mid-year is also a good time to look at your investment strategies. How have the market fluctuations affected your portfolio balance? Are your investment choices holding up? This isn't something you have to, do alone. There's many companies like the FDIC where we're at, they have offer assistance for retirement planning, where you can reach out to a certified financial planner to help you develop and make the needed adjustments for the asset mix in your retirement accounts.
Yeah, a mid-year financial review wouldn't be complete unless you looked at your tax situation. Okay, you have to take a look and see if there's things you can do to reduce your tax burden this year, or maybe the opposite way, you may have potential tax consequences of situations that might have happened. So you look at your withholdings to see if you're going to be have enough put away. So one, you aren't getting a giant refund because you don't want to say I'm sitting on your money. And number two, that you aren't going to owe a whole lot where you end up having to pay under withholding penalty. Okay, so you take a look and make sure things are as you thought they would be. And that starts with looking at your last year's taxes, taking a look at what's changed, look at the return you got or what you had to pay this year, just to make sure you're within that 10% of what you're going to owe, so you aren't getting this huge refund or you don't have to pay. And you also have to think about anything that may happen the rest of the year that may affect your tax situation. With, again, marriage, divorce, a new baby, changing jobs, starting a business, or anything that may affect your total tax situation. You have to take a look and make sure you stay on top of that.
Next one is re-examine your debt strategy. Know exactly what your total debt amount is. A lot of people, believe it or not, be trying to hold this amount in their head. You need to put it down. Take stock in every debt you have. Write down the balance, the interest rate, the minimum payment for each. And finally, add all the balance together to know exactly how much debt you have to pay off. Now, if you have trouble finding motivation to repay your debt, consider these two methods, the debt snowball method or the debt avalanche method. With the debt snowball method, you pay as much as you can or each month towards your smallest debt while paying only the minimum on the other debts. And this means when the first debt is paid off, if you use a smaller one to achieve, some successes, that's why I say start with them, and you can feel psychologically that you're making some advancement. Move on to the next smallest, and do so until you work your way until your debt is paid off. Now, the avalanche approach is different. The avalanche approach works by paying your debts with the highest interest rates first. And a lot of times, those are the ones that have the bigger balances, and they take longer to pay off. Some people get distressed because the balance is not going down fast enough. That's why they use the snowball approach. But the avalanche approach works just paying off the highest interest first and paying only the minimum on the other debts, then moving to the next highs and so on and so on. This method requires discipline, but it can save you more money in the long run. Now, if you improve your credit score over the past year, you could be looking to pay off your debt, the high interest debt, by doing a consolidated loan, by having a debt consolidation. Doesn't work for everybody, but it works for some people if it's disciplined. And you got to watch out for some of these debt consolidation companies because you end up in more debt than you were when you started off. But a debt consolidation loan is a form of debt refinancing, and it combines the multiple balances from your credit cards and other high interest loans into a single loan with a fixed rate and a fixed term. And it can help you save money by reducing the interest rates and make it easy to pay off and make it a lot easier to pay off your debt a lot faster.
The next thing you got to do is look at your goals. Look at your personal financial goals. See, and this is different than your budget because this is more of a long-term, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish over a period of years. When you think about budgets, you usually think in terms of a monthly budget, an annual budget. But when you're thinking about goals, you're thinking about overall what you're trying to accomplish, what things you want out of life, how much money you want to have at a certain point in your life. And so, again, this is a point where you look over your past couple of years, see if things are going the way you expect them to go, what things you need to change. You have to have something to use as a guide. You would never go on a trip without having a map. And that's what your goals are. They're your map to get you to where you want to be. And this is a good time to revisit those, adjust those as necessary, and make sure you're on path for hitting whatever goals you have set out there to do.
And we always talk about that when we talk about personal money management. It's about you have to have a goal, you need to know your risk tolerance, and you need to know your time horizon which you're trying to meet your goal. If you do those three things, that will help your financial planning so considerably. But like I said, when I was doing financial planning, all this is good. This is no good, no benefit if you don't take action. I know a lot of people are good at reading and writing down, but when it comes to the actual application, they fall short. Now, mid-year financial checkup should give you a clear idea of what actions you need to take to stay on track with your goals. Now, here's just a couple of tried and true recommendations to help keep you moving forward, through the remainder of the year. Build or maintain your emergency fund. Putting even a small amount aside for emergencies can help you recover more quickly from financial setbacks and to keep your finances on check. If you don't already have 3 to 6 months of living expenses aside, recommit to allocating money each month to rebuild or contribute even more to the emergency fund. And this is one of those, it's not a requirement, it's just a benchmark, 6 months. Some people say 6 months to a year. It might take a while, but it's worth it. Stashing money into a high yield savings account can help your money grow even faster compared to just putting it in a traditional, regular checking or savings account.
The next thing you want to do is look at your spending. Look and see where you're spending money. Maybe you want to go through your bank statement, your credit card statements for the past couple of months, and look for expenses that you can maybe eliminate or cut back on altogether. And don't just stop at shopping and what you're eating out. Also look at your subscriptions, your membership, things like that maybe you can do without asking yourself, am I really using these membership? Am I really watching these streaming services that I'm paying for? And determine if you don't really need those, and maybe you can take that money and put it to better use. Look at your cable bill, your internet bill. A lot of times you can renegotiate. I was talking to a buddy of mine about DirecTV, and nobody should be paying the regular price for, not DirecTV, I'm sorry, for Sirius Radio, because all you have to do is call them up and tell you when you're going to cancel. And the first thing they're going to say is, we'll give you a promotional rate for a year. And it's usually $4 or $5 a month. and they'll tell you it's only for a year, and you sign up again, and when it renews, it'll renew at the going rate. But right before it renews, you call them up and say, hey, I see my rates going up. I got to cancel again. And magically, they're going to come up with that promotional rate again. And that's the one thing that it takes people, and everybody's not good at this, but you got to ask. A lot of times, if you ask, people will give you a lower rate on a lot of things. And one thing I can guarantee you, if you don't ask, you won't ever get it. But the most you have to lose by asking is they say no. But most companies want to keep customers, and they will give you a break if you ask.
So review your insurance rates on all insurance products you got. Many insurance carriers offer discounts to lower customers with safe driving records. Even if you've been paying rates for years, consider contacting your provider about potential discounts. They also pay off to shop around. Compare rates against a few insurance companies to ensure you're still getting the best deal. I went with Erie Insurance for my auto insurance. They're out of Pennsylvania, but Maryland is also one of the states that they cover. We save over $500, $500 to $600 just by changing over to Erie, and they are great, been around for years. So review your insurance policies. I mean, sometimes you got a old car, 10 years old, and you got the maximum comprehensive deductible. Do you really need that? You might need to really think about, do you need to be paying that high premium on covering that that old car? These are things, homeowners, all these things. Look at your insurance and see if there are better ways, and if not, that's okay too. But you need to check your policies.
Yeah, bottom line on all this, looking at your financial information periodically through the year, that's a good habit to have to help you stay on top of things, make sure things are pointing in the right direction, make sure you aren't getting scammed or nobody has something in your name, make sure you're progressing towards your goal. And if any adjustments need to be made, that's the time to make them. You might want to relook at your budget, your cash flow, good chance to look at your spending, your living expenses, your health benefits, your retirement savings, how much you're saving through your company's plan. And these checkups, you put this into effect along with a lot of the regular habits that we talk about, can help keep you on track to generating wealth, preserving your wealth, preparing for retirement, and all the things that are involved in money management. A lot of us weren't brought up doing this, and it seems awkward at first, but once you start, and again, you create these habits of reviewing your expenses, of looking at things that you spend money on, and looking for ways to cut costs in different types of expenses that you have, it does become a habit, which is a good habit to have. And then you can look back and know you're doing everything you can to maximize your wealth without going overboard. We're not saying obsess over these things, but to think you can just, as the old commercial used to say, set it and forget it, that ain't how finances work, because things are going to change. I can guarantee you that. That's the only constant, is that things are going to change. You need to be ready to make adjustments to keep things on track.
Wise advice, though, very wise advice. As usual, we covered quite a few things. So I just want to go to the summary and takeaways. But the key is, you all, mid-year checkup, and we're going to be coming around with the end-of-year checkup too within 6 months, because like we say, things happen. So let's go to the video, and I'll start it off. Okay. The first one is like I just said, things change. Life is all about change, adjustments. Just prepare yourself, do your review. If you don't need to change anything, don't change anything. But if you do, be proactive and change.
Yeah, and the next one is the only thing worse than not building wealth is not safeguarding your wealth. And this is involved checking your credit report, making sure your passwords are legitimate, making sure you're not subject to identity theft, creating an estate plan. Those are the kind of things that you have to do to safeguard your wealth. And this is why you have mid-year checkup to make sure you have those controls in place.
Next one is a step in the process. This is a step in the process of your whole financial picture. You need to maintain discipline. You need to understand your risk tolerance and setting goals. And part of the step in the process, you must review your budget. There's no way around. It's just a part of the process of the whole financial picture, your whole financial life. And when you do this, you'll be able to enter the financial mainstream and be able to live a more stress-free life from at least from money, and just feel a little bit more less anxieties.
And finally, take action. It's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to actually do it. Again, create those habits that help you build wealth, help you safeguard your wealth, help you stay on track, and take time to do it. Set up reminders on your calendar to do these things. Set up safeguards to remind you of things you have to do to protect yourself and keep things straight. But unless you do it, you're not helping yourself.
And that's just the, the tip of the iceberg that we talked about. But it's important that you do it, y'all. So hope you learned a lot from this show today. Just want to thank everybody who was on, roll call. It's glad to see. Welcome back, my sister Gloria. You've been missing 2 shows in a row. And I know you're a busy woman, but thank you for being back. And my lovely sister Linda. But now, y'all must got something going. Now, today, Nolia's gone. Y'all must got something going. Now, Dodie, what's up now? Thank you for being on as always. Rodney Madison, Senior, the note. Rodney, we're going to have you on next week to talk about the note experience, how the whole mortgage notes as an investment, as an alternative investment tool. And we're going to have you on, and it'll be great. We're just going to talk a little bit about that and let you share us your website and give us a little bit more insight of another way to actually earn money and maximize our net worth. And the wonderful Joanne Skinner's with us, and the wonderful Debbie Doty.
Hey, Dee.
Glad you're with us. So, Dope, as always, my quote for today is, oh, I lost it. But it goes something like this. I don't need to see it. Ships don't sink from the water inside of them. It sinks from the water that's around them. So whatever you do, don't let the things that are outside of you, external, get inside of you and weigh your boat down. Now, I kind of paraphrased that. It was a little bit smoother saying than that. But you get the gist, though,
right? You get the drift. It makes sense.
Yeah. Ships don't sink from the water inside of them. It sinks from the water that's around them. It's very important. The people that you have around you is important. Don't let them get in your business because they will sink your ship. So with that, we will be at our 204th show next week, and looking forward to seeing everybody then. Have a great, great, great weekend, and we'll see you next week.